Acclaimed theatre practitioner Konstantin Stanislavski is perhaps best known for his oft-parroted phrase, "There are no small roles, only small actors." Yeah, I'll bet you didn't expect to hear a Stanislavski quote on this list, did you? Adjust your bloody expectations. Anyway, the point is that no matter how inconsequential the part may seem, it's ultimately crucial to the overall production, or else it wouldn't exist. Now, anyone who taught the dismal UK independent scene prior to the Brit-Rest revolution will know all too well that there are small shows, and they are universally the preserve of small, back then often literally, wrestlers. Without stars, nobody had come. So the trick is small venues. A sold-out bingo hall gives better optics than an empty amphitheatre. Unfortunately, starry-eyed optimism too often outstrips business acumen, resulting in huge benefits for huge tarpaulin manufacturers. With that in mind, I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and these are 8 wrestling shows with embarrassing attendances. Number 8. GFW Live. In May 2015, Jeff Jarrett launched a lurid lime green venture with some seriously lofty ambitions. According to its preposterous mission statement, Global Force Wrestling would feature elite professional athletes from 5 different continents and would boast real stories, real people, and real meaning. One of those real elite-level professionals turned out to be an ancient Kevin Nash, who, seemingly on his way back from the gym, popped his head in the door for a GFW show in Richmond, Virginia's 12,000-capacity Diamond Baseball Stadium. Unfortunately, Big Sexy, 2 decades since claiming the WWF Championship, was not a big draw. So, no difference there. Of those real people Jarrett mentioned, just 250 of them, flocked into the obviously oversized amphitheatre as the NWO founder endorsed Luke Gallows and, by extension, the Bullet Club. At one point, there was legitimately almost as many people in the ring as in the bleachers. Number 7. ROH Honor reigns supreme. In April 2018, Ring of Honor were the absolute kings of North American independent wrestling. Though the company wasn't necessarily hitting the same creative ceilings as in the Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe era, its popularity was through the proverbial. 6,000 fervent aficionados packed into New Orleans' Lakefront Arena across WrestleMania 34 weekend, the metal in their wallets largely attracted by the magnetic pull of the interloping Bullet Club. One of the night's main attractions featured Cody defeating Kenny Omega in a 37-minute stormer. Just over a year on, Ring of Honor enjoyed their ostensible apex, but despite selling out Madison Square Garden, it was a bittersweet valedictory. The esteemed New York venue had shifted seats largely on the back of the New Japan partnership. The Sinclair company, for all intents, was irrelevant. Why? 3 letters, AEW. The success of All In the previous September, for which ROH was largely implicit, inspired the imagination of a certain Jacksonville billionaire. Tony Khan opened his purse, and soon the Maryland outfit was shorn of all its key talent. When Marty Scurll, the last remaining remnant of the departed club, announced he was sticking with the group at January's Honor Reigns Supreme, he did so to a nearly empty arena. Number 6. UWF's Blackjack Brawl. The wrestling world has seen its fair share of hucksters duping marks out of their money by spinning their straw hat on a cane before hightailing it to the next town. On the grift scale, they all pretty much pale in comparison, though, to Herb Abrams, whose balmy exploits within his version of the Universal Wrestling Federation could and probably should fill an entire book. When he wasn't stiffing talent on pay, stuffing copies of the Wrestling Observer into the mouths of jobbers called Davey Meltzer, or dying in bizarre circumstances covered in baby oil and banknotes, Abrams was attempting to bring Hollywood glitz back to wrestling. And beside Hollywood itself, where better to find schmaltzy stardust than Las Vegas? Ambitiously, Abrams secured the 17,000-seat MGM Grand Garden Arena, the same which hosted AEW's All Out, fully expecting a full house for UWF's similarly high-stakes Blackjack Brawl. Despite boasting such luminaries as Sid Vicious, Steve Williams, and Ludwig Finland Hellraiser Thor Borger, and no fewer than 9 bouts for newly created championships, only 228 punters veered off the strip to take a gamble on the spectacle. That was only 10 times as many wrestlers as were on the card. Yeah, let that sink in. Number 5. New Japan's New Beginning. The 16,000 that packed into Madison Square Garden for the aforementioned New Japan-fronted G1 Supercard special suggested the company's ambitions for the American market weren't just coming to fruition, but had fully ripened. That fruit, unfortunately, didn't bear seeds and would soon turn mouldy. A number of factors, chief amongst them the emergence of AEW and the company's lack of significant English-language television in the region, saw New Japan completely failed to capitalize on their April 2019 momentum. By the fall, the promotion were drawing well under capacity for the Super J Cup finals in Long Beach, California, the prestige and occasion of MSG failing to translate forwards. It probably doesn't help that the company, one huge show notwithstanding, has treated the market like a glorified house show loop. The lack of appreciable star power goes some way to explaining why their most recent tour of the US has drawn some of the lowest attendances in the organization's history. The nadir came in Nashville, Tennessee. Just 400 people, only a portion of whom paid, made it to the War Memorial Auditorium. Numbers were described with a, let's just say, smidge of understatement as hugely disappointing. Number 4. 5-Star Wrestling live in Belfast. The UK's 5-Star Wrestling was a curious case in that it sprung to life similar to TNA Suicide as a tangible embodiment of a video game. It was quite fitting then that this virtual company ultimately had virtual fans. The company's first show, the snappily titled 5-Star Regenesis after the PS4 game of the same name, took place in Edinburgh. It's hard to understand why it was greenlit, quite literally, given how few people John Morrison could realistically attract to the city's Meadowbank Sports Arena. 5-Star started as they didn't mean to go on. The first date of their UK tour the following January opened before swathes of empty seats at Newcastle's Metro Radio Arena, despite featuring a relatively strong lineup including Rey Mysterio and AJ Styles. Arguably the company's nadir, and I mean take your pick at this point, came on their big TV debut. Renamed Dominant Wrestling, presumably to attract Channel 5's mid-90s grot audience, the Dundee special saw its wrestlers emerge to the same music before a virtually empty hall. In 2017, CM Punk was offered $1 million to star in a Liverpool show, which he smartly refused. Shortly after, an ambitious date for Manchester's MEN Arena was cancelled, with the promoters cravenly citing the recent terrorist attack on the venue for its nixing. The grift came to a humiliating end in 2018, with a Belfast show attracting just 180 people to the 11,000-seater SSE Arena, which translates to about 1%, in other words. The company's future dates were fairly swiftly cancelled. Number 3. TNA's BASEBRAWL series. You can level a lot of reasonable criticism at the original incarnation of TNA. First and foremost, that awful Attitude-tastic name. Oh, what about the Attitude Era? But in spite of frequently promoting a roster of cast-offs and has-beens, nobody can say that they didn't try new things. Between the X Division, the nurturing of homegrown talent like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, and the rehabilitation of troubled stars such as Matt Hardy and Kurt Angle, the Nashville group ultimately gave more to the business than they took. Not all their ideas were roaring successes, though. Take the BASEBRAWL concept, for example. Promoted as family-friendly wrestling fun in a number of the nation's minor league baseball stadiums, if you're thinking the combination of TNA plus baseball stadium would be ripe for embarrassment, yeah, you'd be bang on, to be honest. The shows, though theoretically a delightful way to spend a hazy summer evening, frequently played before empty stands, with even the temporary ringside seating struggling to fill up. One 2012 show, for example, containing a relatively star-studded lineup including Sting, Jeff Hardy and RV Bloody D, attracted just 625 fans. I suppose you could say it was hardly a home run. Number 2. WWE's Stomping Grounds. 2019's Stomping Grounds was ostensibly intended as a slightly less embarrassing replacement for the prior year's stonkingly titled great balls of fire. And whilst its name sadly didn't produce anywhere near as many titters from the back, even though the advertising revolved around a man known for using his fists and not his feet, it nevertheless still managed to leave WWE officials red-faced. Despite being configured to hold approximately 18,000 fans, fewer than 6,000 WWE enthusiasts sparsely populated Washington's Tacoma Dome. According to attendees, many of those tickets were papered, with a company desperate to avoid visual humiliation offering 2-for-1 deals right until the show kicked off. Giving tickets away is, to be honest, easy enough, but finding anyone interested enough to use them is quite another thing. The Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer latterly confirmed that only around 4,500 spectators paid to get through the doors. At least they got a good show. No. Number 1. WCCW's 4th Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions. On the 10th of February 1984, David Von Erich died whilst on tour with All Japan Pro Wrestling, the cause of which has been disputed and speculated over ever since. The official line given by his family was a ruptured intestine caused by enteritis. A more commonly touted theory is an opioid overdose. In an instant, the heart of his father Fritz's world-class championship wrestling was ripped out, though the outpouring of grief perversely kept the company's attendances high for a period. 4 months after David's death, WCCW established the annual Parade of Champions in his honor. The card headlined by an emotional encounter between Brother Kerry and Ric Flair, attracting 50,123 fans to Irving's Texas Stadium. Nevertheless, the twin devils of the Von Erich curse and Vince McMahon's rapid North American expansion meant WCCW couldn't sustain interest even on the morning dollar. The next 2 years saw the tribute show's attendance slashed in half as further devastation struck the promotion. Gino Hernandez died of a cocaine overdose at the beginning of 1986, and in April 1987, Fritz lost a third son when Mike Von Erich, unable to cope with the pressure mounted on his shoulders, took his own life. By this point, tragedy was proving a turn-off. Audiences simply couldn't stomach the mental turmoil. The 4th annual Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions, now in honor of both David and Mike, attracted just 5,900 spectators to the cavernous Texas Stadium. With all of WCCW's star attractions either departed or deceased, the event was headlined by a 6-woman mud pit match. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus, you can check out some more recent videos here. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.